Good morning, and thank you for taking the time to listen to our proposal for a new product called Officially Home. I'm Haley,
I'm Johnny.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Gwen.
and today we'll be walking you through how we discovered the need for this new product and what features our product entails. As a group, we were interested in learning more about how the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted and will continue to impact the workplace. With the need to decrease people's exposure and increase safety measures, many companies closed their office doors and transitioned their employees to work from home. During a time with many dramatic shifts, learning how to remotely operate a business became a common struggle for companies across the nation. However, with this came the realization that continued remote work post the pandemic would be possible, with the potential for businesses to save millions on office rentals. However, taking the employee's perspective into consideration, working from home wasn't given as an option, so not everyone was prepared to make this shift. But with the potential of working from home becoming the new norm, we saw an opportunity to improve how it's done. Before we could innovate in this context, we made sure to do some background research.
So our background research centered around three areas. The first was to compare working in the office versus working from home. This included the physical space as well as what one's mental space was when working in either area. That leads into our other two questions. What motivates people to work and what makes people productive at work? We looked at both of these things at an individual level, considering motivation and productivity in and outside of work to get a full understanding of the individuals we spoke with, as well as asking about comparisons between working in the office and at home. We did some secondary research to gain deeper understanding of how to frame our future questions for primary research. But before we could move closer to gaining insight, we had to specify what group we were targeting, leading us to a persona.
After our research and interview experiences, we developed a persona that encapsulates our customer segment. So our persona is Rachel Jones, and she is an accountant at a small firm. And she typically works in an office setting. However, with the pandemic, she now works at home remotely. We added that she's a mom of 2 young kids because we want to hone in on parents as they have an increased need for an effective work-life balance. Through these attributes, we were able to find some important pains, and these included a new lack of coworker interaction, a decrease in motivation coupled with a decrease in distractions, and an overall increase in distractions and an overall decrease in accountability. These pains were reflected in our interviews. Here's an insightful quote from one of our interviewees disclosing a pain related to socialization. It says, "You've completely lost the ability to bump into someone in the hallway or see someone in the kitchen when you're both making lunch or something like that. The impromptu chats are just impossible. It's just not happening." This was a really valuable take because we were able to understand more of the value that comes from socialization in the office. Our next step was to gather our findings and compile the pains and gains into a couple of problem statements, and our strongest one ended up being parents who work remotely need a way to nurture rewarding social relationships with their coworkers while working remotely because socialization increases accountability, motivation, and morale amongst employees. We chose this one because through our interviews, we noticed that the social environment seemed to be a very important aspect of the office, an aspect that our customer segment is now deprived of in the remote setting. We noticed that not only do organic social interactions benefit productivity, they also increase satisfaction and mood at work. And here are a couple of specific insights from our interviews which helped us to understand our customers' values. Buddy says, "The energy and accountability of being around other people, it's hard to be as accountable when you're not face to face with someone else. There's something about the shared vision of what we're all doing together. And when you're in the same physical space, you feed off of each other. I find I'm way more motivated when I'm here in the office than when I'm not." And another interviewee says, "I think there is value in those social interactions. And while it may take me away from what I'm working on for, a couple of minutes, I still think there's value in having that conversation or grabbing that cup of coffee or going to lunch or whatever it is." This lack of a stimulating social environment seems to currently have some bleak solutions in this new remote working world. So our next step was to figure out how to best solve this problem.
So looking at our solution of Officially Home, we wanted to create a realistic virtual office setting. And that's what we noticed from a lot of our pains and weaknesses from our interviews and with our interviewees. And we wanted to create this by making common areas as well as meeting areas. The meeting areas are very straightforward, whether it's your boss inviting you to a meeting like they would if they were knocking on your office door, or your team coming to you in your office and saying, hey, can we have 5-10 minutes to talk about this? So we wanted to incorporate those things into our virtual office setting at Officially Home. The common areas is a thing that we called our studio. And that's a place where everyone, when they join the day, if they're not in a meeting or any specific department meeting of any sort, they're joined in the studio. And that creates the office setting like you would see in a regular place where everyone can see everyone, they can talk openly as they would in a general area. This increases motivation, as Gwen said, with her interviewee, and that socialization and being able to see people face to face will increase your motivation to work and increase your productivity. It also increases socialization, which is a big key that we found missing a lot amongst our interviewees when they started working remotely. And without this socialization, productivity and motivation were decreased significantly. Along with this, our solution of Officially Home is easy to use. It's very simple for companies to set up the rooms that you will see in our prototype in just a moment, as well as setting up the keyword or phrase to begin speaking. And that is one of the key innovations in our solution of Officially Home, is that the keyword or phrase that you record as the user is unique to your voice and the word or phrase that you use. And that is what you say to allow yourself to speak without having to switch back to your video window and leaving your work. You're able to be muted and then allow yourself to speak while staying on the same screen that you're working on, whether it's individually or with a group or with your manager, so that everyone can look at the same piece of paper without leaving. The positive outcomes, along with the increased motivation and productivity, are working from home becomes valuable. It saves the company money from having a physical workspace depending on the work environment. It also decreases distractions that are noticed when you have to constantly mute or unmute videos and microphone settings as are seen on current programs. And those decreased distractions lead to the traditional work feeling that we wanted to encompass. Now, looking at our prototype, you can see our members of Bert, Camille, Sammy, John, and Alex all have different colors on their name screen. So Alex and Bert are both in blue, which means they're in the studio. So they have joined work. They're not in any specific meeting. They're just sitting there doing their work on their own and ready to join any meetings that they need to. Camille in black is in a meeting with her direct manager. Sammy in green means that she is meeting with her team. And John in red means that he has not joined the studio yet. So he has not essentially clocked into work yet. The Join Studio button at the bottom is what you would select every time that you clock into work, unless you have a specific meeting that is scheduled at that time. And when you join the studio, it's like walking into your physical office space, seeing everybody, and getting to work. The silent mode is something that you do if you are using the restroom, going away and making lunch, anything like that, that mutes your video and audio altogether. By clicking on the white arrow in the middle, you move to the next slide. And that opens up our setting area. And that is where you can look at all the rooms that are available, such as accounting, marketing, HR, finance, and all of the other options. Those are different based on every company. So for a prototype, we put some general departments, as well as if you were looking at, say, an HVAC company, those rooms could say plumbing department, AC department, etc. This is where you can also look at setting up and joining your team manager in a meeting, as well as joining your team's meeting, looking for any meeting, or hosting your own meeting as well. Haley will take us into our settings on the bottom right and what that looks like when you open that.
As you move into the settings, that's when you really get to design your own dashboard and choose what appears on that. While we had a social option and work company updates as an option on the previous dashboard, it's up to the user to decide what they want to appear there. So when you're in your settings, you can choose your preferences and design your dashboard however you like. You also can update a profile picture, and this is where you would record a code word or phrase that would initiate your speaking when you're in the studio. Additionally, here you can see your personal team numbers, your personal meeting numbers, and etc. While you're in this function, you would also still be able to see all of the team members or go back and join the studio. If you were in a meeting, however, this is what your screen would look like. You would have the option to still have your home with all the other team members and where they are open on the sidebar while you're in the middle of your meeting talking to other members. When you're in a personal meeting or a team meeting, you would not be transmitting audio to the studio when you're speaking. However, you could still click View Dashboard and it'll pull back out the dashboard that we saw previously, where you could go back and see the different room options that there are and the different social options or updates and notifications, as well as still where the team members are.
And this is just an example of when you're in an actual meeting and all of a sudden you get a meeting request from someone like your boss per se. So the next slide will show the options you have once you get a request. You can either join, send a message, or just decline it altogether.
So why is Officially Home awesome? For one thing, it really addresses the problem for the need for social relationships at home. The software is structured in a way where you can be on it throughout the whole workday by being collapsible. In its sidebar mode, people can do the work they need to do while also staying up to date on what everyone else is doing. By being able to see what people are doing, as well as having access to the studio, people are more reachable. Having everyone on the software enables people to feel more connected and aware of their coworkers. This all helps people collaborate and socialize. When people can see who is on the studio or who is on break with other coworkers, it can encourage impromptu conversations because people are not only more connected, but they are more connected in a more natural and casual way. People being on the software doesn't necessarily mean they are busy or in a meeting. They could be free to talk or free to help with a project. This software helps identify and connect those types of people while also assisting in more formal meetings as well. This software will also be valuable to the industry we chose, which is the commercial real estate industry. One lesson taken from the COVID-19 pandemic was that working from home is doable. As a result, many companies are looking to create a hybrid work environment in which people sometimes work at home and sometimes in the office. With some people working at home and some people working in the office, there needs to be a way to connect these two groups. And this software can do just that. People in the office can use this software as well as people working remotely. This will help remote workers feel more connected to the office and help increase their accountability and motivation. This software can help make these hybrid work environments more viable and allow companies to save money on leasing office space. Not only does our product solve the problem, but it's a novel idea. We distinguish our product from other competitors by emphasizing that this isn't software designed for doing work, but to feel more at work. Our number one purpose in making this is to better connect people in natural ways that encourages socialization of all kinds. This is exemplified in our features such as the social media or message board feature, video rooms that are designated as break rooms or meeting rooms, and our keyword unmuting process that makes impromptu conversation easier. These features aren't directly tied to doing work better, but mainly are there to increase people's opportunities for socialization. Our product also centralizes all types of activities and aspects of work. Whereas some competitors' products pull together features that make doing work more easy, ours ties in features of the office that aren't work related, but are a genuine part of the office experience. Officially Home understands that enjoying work isn't just about doing the work itself, but enjoying the people you see and the relationships you make. So thank you for listening to our presentation. We will now take any questions.